Thank you all for being here, for the contributions that you all make and the sacrifices you made to be here. As Russ said, I'm Jim Conley. I also have Nystagmus, in case there was any question or doubt. And I did get involved with Anne back after the conference in 2009, and I'll tell you, it was the last conference, I think, where Dr. Deloso actually did speak and address the crowd, and I sat there, I remember, on the first evening, and I'll just admit it, as he's talking about Nystagmus and the research he's doing, there were just tears rolling down my face. I couldn't stop. I didn't even try to hide it. There were just tears coming down my face because it was honestly the first time I knew anybody even cared or bothered, or like many people with Nystagmus, especially the older ones. Roz called me a young man. No one's called me that in a long time. So I was like, it's going to be a great presentation. And but no one had expressed much interest beyond, tough. So to be in a community that kind of embraced and accepted and was studying this was just a lot for me to take in. It was a lot for me psychologically to take in as well. And one of the things I got out of that experience was a set of tools from meeting other people with Nystagmus. So when I got involved with the board, they said, would you just, you work for Google, you must know this stuff. How can we use technology? And I thought very long and hard about it. And I had started months back preparing this list of resources and things like that. And I thought, you know what? Nobody needs me to tell you where to go to get big print books, right? You've got Google. Nobody needs me to tell you this is the provider of, this is the best kind of magnification machine, because I don't use them. So what I thought would be more practical would be to cover what now has a word. It didn't have a word back then, but now we call them hacks, right? You hear people talk about life hacks, things, ways to do things more easily. So what I wanted to talk about are some of the tips, the tricks, the best practices. And again, you don't need me to tell you. I can tell you a few that I use, but look around you, right? Because the people sitting around you, these guys are the real experts. These are people who do this stuff every single day. These are people who have ways to find tips and tricks and coping and skills, mad skills, that they use all the time. So what I'd like to do is a session in two parts. I'd like to do the first part where we talk about what are some of the practical tips, the technologies, the hacks that you use to get by every day. But then the second part of it is I also want to talk a little bit about, it sounds funny to say this, but what are the emotional and psychological and coping hacks that we have as well? Because I think it's one thing to just talk about the physical tools we use to get around in our world, but I think it's another thing entirely to talk about the emotional tools that we use to get along with ourselves and with the situations that confront us every day. So let's take a look at those two things. We'll see if there's an impact, one or the other. You down? Okay? Say, let's go. Let's go. All right, okay, fine, we're going. So what I want to do is I'm going to have you work in groups, right? Which is why I asked people to sort of sit together. And I want you to come up with, we're going to have three kind of teams, right? Maybe 6 teams, maybe 2 groups here, 2 groups here, and 2 groups here. And here's what I want you to focus on. What's a tip? What's a trick? What's some little secret hack that you use? What's some little secret technique that you have? We're going to talk about a lot of stuff that you thought you were the only one who did this, right? And what is some secret trick that you have? And we're going to break this up into 3 categories, okay? For this group, it's going to be at home. Okay, so this is going to be location-based. So when you're at home, what are you doing? You're watching TV, you're talking on the phone, you're waiting for the mailbox, whatever you're doing at home. So what are the tips and tricks you use at home? Again, cooking, television, things at home. This group you're going to do at school or work. Different situation. So how do you get by at school? Reading the blackboard. How do you get by at work, in a meeting? What happens? What are the expectations? How do you find yourself? What are your tricks? Right? And then this group, you're going to do when you're traveling, when you're getting through life, when you're going from A to B. So outside of home or work or those environments, but when you're in that in-between place. What are the tips? What are the tricks? what would you like to share with someone else that you've discovered this special technique? Any questions? Is that pretty clear? You each should have a little notepad and a pen. And you're going to take about just 5 or 10 minutes. Turn around, by the way. Maybe, turn around to the table. Say hello to yourselves. Right. Okay. So, going to give 5 minutes. Tips and tricks. Are you ready? Ready? Go. At home, watching TV, doing your laundry, whatever you do. Like, how do you? What's your secret? What's your trick? You scooch on up here. Join.
I don't have I will listen. Like my daughter.
Do you wear magnifying glasses? Do you? So I gotta say, when it's very interesting because when I do a lot of these sessions for work. Yeah. Is this thing on? Mike, bring it on back. Help me come back. Okay. Boy. So I do a lot of like training and things like that at work. I never have this problem where people want to keep talking. No, I was just asking you to.
What?
I was just saying that we're ready to go.
Oh.
We're ready to go.
Yeah. Home is actually the least hard one to do because you have a lot more control in your own environment.
Yes.
You have to find it.
So sit down and tell us that when we get to you.
It is a symptom, though, just like yesterday's roundtable.
Yeah.
People are reluctant, but the second we actually talk with each other, you give it a couple of minutes and it floods out.
I know.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's.
Honey, you called me Heather.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It was just funny because I had to knock you on it.
Okay. In the middle of my session, that's fine. Go ahead and do that. Just acting out. It's okay. All right, so let's hear from folks. What are the tricks? Okay, this table is like guys are on. You're going to go first. How about you go first? Okay. So talk to us, and I'm gonna hand this to Lavalier around because we're recording. No pressure. And I'm gonna find out from you guys when you're at home. How do you make your environment work for you?
Well, they all decided that the house was the easiest because you have more control.
Okay.
So we mostly went for electronics. The computer, larger font. There's a window app or font that you can make it so that it pushes out. And then there's a neat thing we just learned. It's a mouse track, so it makes a bullseye where the cursor is. Because I know my daughter can't find the cursor all the time. Magnifiers, just pocket magnifiers.
Yeah. I use this little 5x magnifier. So if you're in the kitchen, you're trying to read a recipe off a box, and as we get older, our group is a little bit older, I can't read them worth a damn. So these things are all over my house, and so are my reading glasses. And the 5X, it's that big, $5, $5 or $6 on Amazon. Bosch & Lowell makes them. I order about half a dozen at a time.
What else? Anything else?
We have bigger TVs.
Awesome. We love bigger TVs. I just finally got an enormous TV. I've never been so happy. I'm like, I could watch a foreign film and not be sitting at like 2 inches from the TV.
You can use the TV, the big TV for your computer as a monitor.
Yes.
Via DMI.
Yeah, in the last few years, all the stuff's come way down in price.
Same with using our phones to take a picture and then magnify it bigger.
Yep.
And Control Plus on the keyboard.
Control Plus.
And mine is zooming in and out.
Yeah.
On the browsers.
Scroll.
Control scroll.
Awesome. One thing, this is not product placement, but I do work for Google, and I don't know if have any of you used Chromecast?
Yeah.
Okay. It's $35, right? Yeah. Plug it into your TV. You can throw anything on your phone onto your television. So if you want to share pictures from your trip, just throw it on your big old TV. You can see it. It's terrific. I use that. Yeah.
Chromecast, you use Bluetooth, any number of
or Apple TV. I don't think you can do that with Apple TV, but anything else.
I use a app for magnifying, but this is a special magnifier because you can use the light of the phone.
Yeah.
Even if you're in the color anywhere looking there around, or if you're at the bus stop, perhaps, this is not at home, but the same situation, you have the magnifier including a lamp,
Yeah.
so you can see anything written, written. And the other thing is this app can, and this is the opposite against a normal amplifier, magnifier, you can change the color. You can make black against white, so the contrast is better.
Yeah,
Great.
Good.
Great.
Ronald, what's the name of the app?
I can tell it to you.
There's a bunch of
and
different
it
apps that
doesn't
do
cost anything.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff on Google App
It's
Stores.
No, this is
We've got a direct recommendation.
it's on Android.
Green Apple has.
I need your magnifier to read it.
Well, by the way, if you a lot of them, if you research the accessibility, this is a good one. You can set it so that if you tap a screen 3 times, you can embiggen. That's my word, trademark.
Difficult to navigate sometimes because you
Yeah.
accidentally push things.
It's called Cozy Magnifier,
Cozy magnifier.
COSI, what has spelled?
and it's from Play Store.
I think it's COZI, actually.
It
I'm not
doesn't
sure.
cost anything.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Now, let's, yeah.
Does anyone have a problem with fonts on Apple? Because I don't have Nystagmus, and
It depends.
I just can't see the fonts a lot of the time.
Some Safari pages won't enlarge. That's actually a developer fault.
But like the toolbars and so
If you do, what you can do is there's an accessibility. So it's Apple, system preferences, accessibility.
Everything, though. You're
But
talking
no. What you do is it's system wide. So you're not blowing up any single window. You're blowing up the entire window, so that if something is even in the title bar or the file menu, you can read all the menu items. I do that at work constantly. I'm zooming. I'll show you later. Actually, I'll show
For
you.
the Windows accessibility, there's also a magnifier app in there.
Yeah, I've used that.
Yeah.
So at work,
I know, but what I had done, I had gotten a Microsoft Port, some of the Microsoft mice come with an app that you can highlight an area of the screen. It's a lot better than the Windows one, and then you can zoom in and out of there and set it, and it's a movable window.
I was
Larry-
I mean, for me, I don't know, like I said, I don't have Nystagmus. I was just after something that I could permanently leave the fonts bigger.
Oh,
You know?
Well, that's all sent out.
you do it at the resolution. I got this one, Mike. You do this one at the resolution of the monitor. So you bring the monitor resolution down to 840 by 1200, and that will blow the whole thing up.
Yeah, I think that's what I came to the conclusion of.
Yeah.
But then you lose
And as you lose real estate on the screen. But as someone who spent about 100 hours trying to figure these things out. Okay, Mike, sit down if you will, and let's go to work.
I like your issue first when you see patients.
So I'm a psychiatrist. I can have a waiting room full of patients, and sometimes recognizing the face of the patient can be difficult. So I will prepare myself beforehand. I have to do a little preparatory work. I'll ask office staff where the person is sitting. So I have to not just rush into anything, but take a moment to think about what I'm going to be doing and what the potential problem is, and to then try to avoid it. So it's anticipating an issue, trying to take steps then to avoid it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Drew and I were talking about, because we both use Excel at work, when you're trying to view something to enter the information somewhere else, and there's spaces. If it's not consistent rows or consistent columns of information, and there's a gap. Hiding columns, hiding rows.
Oh, that's a great idea.
You know,
Because the bigger you make the font, the further away they all go from one another, right? So if you hide them, that brings it together.
As a low resolution to that, I will print something and use a highlighter.
Okay.
Because then my eyes aren't trying to find it, go back to the screen, find it, go back to the screen.
Great.
Well,
Perfect.
To stay to that one, you just highlight it in spreadsheet, like I use yellow to highlight blocks. So when you print it, your eye will catch it real quick.
How about over here? I know you're in school.
Yeah, I use the Dragon software, so you can talk to it, and then it writes it for you.
Great. And apparently that's very good.
It's really, really good. I'm a biologist, and it like searched all the documents on my computer, and so it learns all the big science words.
Wow, you're kidding.
No, it works really, really good, and it like you can train it for your specific accent.
Wow,
So you know the Midwest accent.
that's awesome.
But you can train it for like Australia or
Yeah.
England or. So.
What about, does anybody at work, are you able to have a big monitor?
I can, but I don't want to.
Why?
For one, I don't want to stand out.
Okay.
For two, I sit in such a common area, I don't want half the world to be able to see my monitor when I walk.
Or your Facebook. Right? Let's get real, Laura.
Bang, we're blocked from Facebook.
Okay.
And YouTube? Oh, yeah.
Well, one thing that I do is I do have a big monitor at work, but I can also put it on an arm, right? And it makes a world of difference. So I'm not going like this to get into it, but I can. You can bring it out, and that I find extremely, extremely helpful. And most of your IT departments, if you ask, will make that accommodation for you. All right, traveling. So one of the things that,
Can I just ask, so
Yeah.
I'm getting lots of information here.
Good.
Any problems with glare when you look at monitors? Is that an issue at all?
Only, like for me, these are off, absolutely off if I'm working on a monitor.
Okay.
I can't have light from above.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem from the screen, but.
But generally, it
I
doesn't
will
cause a
see
problem.
my lights cannot be too bright above my monitor, otherwise
Yeah.
I will get eye fatigue.
and I don't want to sit near a window.
Yeah, I can put the shades on.
Pull the shades. It's like, yeah. Drew.
I just gave up a beautiful, we just changed workplaces and I drew the long straw and I was given a beautiful new workstation with these huge windows. This lady said, "Oh, I feel claustrophobic where I am and I think it's a medical issue. Can I trade with you?" And I was like, "Where are you sitting?" She's like back in this dark corner and I said, "Yes!" I agree, that can be an issue.
Okay.
But you let her think that you were really
Yeah.
giving
Yeah.
up.
You're going to have to buy me lunch for a month.
That's right.
All right. So on the road traveling, it's the biggest thing we hear from parents. Is my kid going to be okay? Are they going to be able to get around, get where they need to go? It's a real issue, and a lot of us have learned. So talk to me. What have you learned? How do you get yourself around?
I didn't know this. He let us know that you can actually register as visually impaired when you book your flight. And you get to pre-board, and if you're flying to some foreign countries, they'll even guide you around the airport, make sure that you get to your, whatever flight you need to take next. So I thought that was
Awesome.
really interesting.
I'm going to try that.
Almost all airlines have a designation when you make a reservation. Some of them say blind, and I am legally blind, so I claim it on my taxes and stuff, so it's okay. A lot of them have switched from blind and put visually impaired.
Wow. Awesome.
You
That's
can
great.
also do that in Disneyland.
They don't always honor it.
Yes,
No.
we did that with our son
It
at
was
Disney
very
World, and it was
difficult.
very difficult.
Yeah.
We asked for the preferential seating and all that at Disney World, and they were like, "Yeah, whatever."
Just try to get up.
Well-
Just try to get up front.
Well, let's
On
talk.
that subject, if the way to get around that is to get a wheelchair. You rent a wheelchair.
Yeah.
You get in the front of the line, everywhere.
Otherwise, they'll be seeing this guy in a few years as well. So talk to me. What else? You guys, talk to me. What else? What else do you do when you're on the road?
Cycling. A lot of people are cycling, so we talked about planning ahead, knowing your route. A lot of us have trouble knowing street signs or where you're going, so planning ahead. And the other thing we talked about was a lot of us can't see through windows, so
Right.
the people driving, if they're waving us through or anything, we
You
don't
can't see them.
Yeah,
see them.
yeah.
So that's a big difficulty we have. So.
Yeah.
I can give a tip for this too, because I have the same problem. It's often glimmering, reflecting, and so on. And I have some polarized glasses, sunglasses, and this reduces the reflection enormous. So it looks clearer, because with polarized glasses, light is only in an orientated way.
Yeah.
Pass through.
And I'll give a tip for this as well, the getting around. I do this a lot in Europe, if I'm in Europe, because some of the streets are all twisty, and then they have the street signs way up on the buildings, and you're like, oh God. Then you gotta cross 3 corners to figure it out. You wait for 3 lights to get over there. So one thing I'll do is if I know, for example, I have to go from the office to a restaurant or to the theater or to another meeting, what I do is I go on Street View, I go on Google Street View, and I watch the route. I take the trip before I go on the trip. And then I can look for landmarks. And I can go like, oh yeah, it said that there was like a Popeye's pizza or whatever, like that's where I turn right. I also, on the map, it's also terrible, like again, this is kind of a thing in Europe when it's better now because you have, your phones can have maps and things. But when you look at the subway map and you're coming out somewhere, there's that little area map of the area that you're in, right? Those are horrible. You never know the orientation. But what I started doing is, as a rule, not just looking at the street I needed to go on, but I look at the street that tells me I went too far. Like, how will I know if I went too far? Okay, if I see that one, I went too far. And believe it or not, it took me years to figure that out. Duh. Yeah. So you look at, and what else when you're traveling?
Does GPS help a lot?
Oh my God.
Sometimes, it depends. It's like walking, a lot of times no. Right, because it'll take you way around where you could have cut through something. I walk an awful lot.
But if you're set up for the walk instead of drive option, at least in pool, you get a whole different route. In fact, right here in Bourbon Street, driver showed me one circuitous route, and then I put on walk, and it was great.
It's much improved. I know that I walk an awful lot more than I ever did because it's so nice. I can just put it in my ears, start going, and it's telling me take a right. Okay, I don't need to, I don't panic so much about like, shit, is that the right one? Oh my God. And then, so it's improved. What about getting around at like airports? We talked about being, registering as visually impaired, or what else you guys do?
Follow people. Find somebody else who's going the same place as you are. Don't necessarily introduce yourself. Just see what listen to them, see what their baggage labels are, and follow them.
Right.
We're stalkers. Awesome.
But going around, one of the things that as I've said this before, but there's actually never been a better time to be visually impaired. I know that sounds crazy, but there's never been a better time because we have smartphones in our pockets, right? The smartphones have cameras. Mike, I don't even use a magnifier anymore. I just turn on my phone and pinch it out to look at the box.
I did that in Europe for street signs. So
Yeah.
Well, Magnifiers are called small print stuff. What you're doing signs, yeah, absolutely.
The other thing that's been very helpful is, as we all know, this is, there's not a million of us here, but so I think a lot of us feel that we don't have kind of the market power, right, to get the companies to make more items that accommodate us. Except, guess what? Like, at least in the United States, baby boomers, the largest generation that we have, like they're all getting old, and so suddenly it's like can't see that golf ball. This will help, and I'm like, great, this is perfect. Good thing the whole country's getting old because it's great.
That was like Viagra every 5 minutes.
I'm not going to go there. But what else? What else are the tips or tricks you guys have? Yes.
For crossing the street.
Yes.
This might be more of a problem for me because I'm younger, but I wait for like a group of other people to come up because sometimes I'm like not sure when I should cross, so I just kind of go with that.
Wait till it's green. Like if it's flashing red, I have no idea how many seconds are left. So a lot of times I'll just pull out my phone and wait for that.
Yeah. That's good. That saved my life once.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I was in school in East Anglia in England, and I'm running for the bus, and I'm running for the bus. Oh, I got to cross the street to get to the bus. And I'm running, and I look to my left, and I see everyone looking my way. And why are they all looking my way? And I thought, oh my God, these people just saved my life. If they hadn't been there, I'd have looked the wrong way and run in front of the bus. So I'm a big fan of that one. All right. So look, these are tricks, techniques that you guys know. We can talk about these more at dinner. It's not about a specific software thing. I think it's about the mindset and the mentality of just continuing to look for them, using the technology, get on the Facebook pages, find the resources. Yeah.
I have an interest in assistive technologies. What would make things better that we could possibly do?
In the UK, I don't know if it is. I'm not too sure, but when the green man comes on to walk across the road, a sound comes, so it beeps so that you can hear.
They do it in the U.S., but it's some places
and
it's different everywhere.
Try one block, not the next block.
Like where the footpath goes onto the road, it's kind of a different texture.
But I think what we can do, but as an organization, I think what we can do is start to publish some of these, right? Start to publish some of these tips for people.
I was wondering about that, even like because the Facebook page, even if you had a post about it, it's going to get
It's
banned,
gone,
you're going to
right,
find it.
right.
So if there's like a fact section on the AMP page or something.
It's in the resource area.
Great. Yeah. Right. Facts. So it is one of the things you guys saw the preview of the new website, and it is one of the things we want to include on there. I'm also would invite any one of you. Look, this isn't the American Nystagmus Network. This is you guys. This is us, right? And I would invite every single person out there. We could to make a video. Throw it on YouTube. Like you can make the resources too, and don't wait to be told how to do something. I often tell at work. I sometimes tell my staff this, and they probably think I'm kind of mean, but sometimes I say, guys, help is not coming. Right? I'm sorry. And what is fantastic about that is like suddenly you're in a new place. Like, okay, well, what do I do? Right? And you have to be the help that comes to other people sometimes. So we all want to help. And I think I would encourage every one of you, like, make a video. Put something out there. Be the help that came to somebody else. Is the spirit I think we want to get to. But I do want to get to the second exercise, okay? And this one, you can do this just in small groups. You don't have to do it in big groups. And I'll just call the people who want to talk about this. But in a small group, you use these technologies because there's a moment when you were frustrated. There was a moment where you couldn't read the box. You couldn't tell the street sign. You weren't sure if the bus was coming, right? And when you're frustrated, here's what I want to know. And just take 5 minutes, because you'll know this stuff like this anyway. When you get frustrated, what is it like, or what happens on a good day, and what happens on a bad day, right? Because the same situation, I could be at the airport in Miami and get on a flight and not be able to read the sign. One day, I know exactly what to do. On another day, it's a bad day, right? It could be the same stimulus, the same situation. So take 5 minutes and you share with the person next to you, but you don't need to make this a big discussion because it's harder that way. When you're frustrated, what happens on a good day? What happens on a bad day? Ready? Go.
The sense of the instruction led me to think about humor as a way.
So I want to have time to talk about some of these. So if you don't mind, as I said, if you'll just join me up here, thank you. As I said in the beginning, I was very impacted in the first time I went to one of the conferences. And one of the things that I actually found most beneficial upon leaving the conference was going back to my home, going back to work. And I found myself noticing more when I actually was frustrated. Because before I hadn't allowed myself to even think of it, right? I'd just been like, it's fine, right? But after the conference, I remember thinking, well, this is one of these things that frustrates me because I can't see it. And instead of kind of glossing over, saying, fine, what I tried to do is I thought of these really awesome people that I met at the conference. I thought of these really cool people. And they all seemed a little bit more together than me, right? Because I was sitting in the front row, like crying, remember, the first day. So I was like, I'm a basket case. These people, like, obviously they're much more together than I am. But when after the conference, leaving, noticing days where I felt like, oh, I'm really frustrated because I can't see something. But I started to think, what would Damien do? Or what would Laura do? Like, she seems really together. Like, or what would Joe do? And I just saw that I didn't have to be so upset. I had these other people who were going through this, and thinking about how they might cope. I don't know. It helped, right?
It does help.
So, on a good day, when you get frustrated, right? On a good day, what happens? You missed the bus, you got across the street 5 times, then in crossing the street the 4th time, the bus came that you were waiting for on the wrong side of the street. And it's a good day, and so how do you deal with that? How do you cope? What happens? Yeah.
Well, I say like laugh or cry a lot.
Yeah.
And so it's like I just incorporate humor, like, I'm yeah, I don't know. Just try and make the best of every situation just by humoring yourself, like, classic me.
I'm so going to use that. A classic me. I love it. What's your name?
Daniel.
Okay, what would Daniel do? Daniel would say like a classic. What else? Well, on a good day, I think humor is a big one for us.
For me, I actually breathe a lot, and it was funny. We were listening to Dr. Hurley yesterday talk about that. I've managed teams of people forever, but I learned it from Nystagmus when I get frustrated. And I forgot to mention this because we were on other topics in our discussion, but lots of deep breaths because it slows the heart rate. It just calms you.
Yep.
So now I bring it into my teams when people are all upset. I'm like, okay, number one, go back to your desk and take like 10 deep breaths.
Yeah.
Because it will calm you. Doesn't fix the problem, but
Right.
it stops you from overreacting,
Right.
or making it more of a problem.
Others. Jillian, what do you have? You must have something back there. On a good day.
I feel like I'm just really not coordinated, like, most of the time. I just fail things. I fall. Just bad.
Classic Jillian.
So my brother actually taught me, like, they're called grounding exercises. So you like stomp your feet into the ground, you like clench your fists, you like get yourself in your body. And for me, that makes me more like aware of what I'm doing, so I don't like spill glasses of water and like break things. So that helps me, and I do that.
Yeah. Others.
On a good day, I'll say, okay, it's time to start my day new. It's a do-over. Like,
Do-over.
If I miss the bus in the morning on the way to work, okay, I get frustrated, I go to work, that little frustration is done, time to start my day again.
Okay. I like it. Yeah, that's...
For me, on a good day, it could be worse. It's not so terrible in the scope of matters, so, let me go on it.
Yeah. Can roll with it more. Okay, yeah.
This is a question. I just thought of this when we were doing the homework and travel thing. This kind of mixes in with the good and bad day. A lot of times we'll have to pick up Jillian from an event or something like that.
Right.
And I've seen her where she thinks that another car.
Oh, yeah.
And she'll go up to the door and go, hey, there.
Oh, I've got you.
I've sat on someone's lap. I've like gotten in and like just sat down on somebody.
So I guess my question is, have you guys done that? Have you just laugh it off? Like,
Okay. Show of hands. Who hasn't done that? You well, you don't have Nystagmus. That's right.
I dressed my husband in a bright coat, like it's typically packed for him. That way I can see him across the room, because all I see is like a figure, and I know his height, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, good, he's there.
I remember-
So I gotta walk up to the right person.
That's right.
Yeah.
I do that at concerts with friends. I like map in my head, okay, he's wearing that, he's wearing
Yes.
that.
Yes. Map it out. Yeah.
I think I know my degree in vision, and I'm prepared. And if I go on travel and meet anybody, it's an exact form. I say, let's meet at this time,
Yes.
this place, and do that. So I will come into trouble. And if I often have to travel. If I have to go to another ministry, I prepare myself. I look before so I don't come into trouble. I'm at the right time at the railway station. I have enough time to change and so on. So, but I know my disadvantage, and I work with this.
I can vouch for that because we arranged to meet because at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
He was there.
And I say, "That's the reception."
And we both stood out to one American, so it was easy after that.
Roz.
I just have to tell a story of walking into a restaurant and all you see are just faces.
Oh, God.
You're going to meet someone.
The food court, God help me.
So you walk into the restaurant and you're looking around and they see you before you see them and they're like, Roz, here we are. And I'm like, and at this point, everybody in the restaurant's looking at you.
But that's
You make a grand entrance.
No, you talk about everything, then I fail.
Yeah, but that is just, that's why I say like on a good day or on a bad day, right? On a good day, yeah, whatever. Oh, there you are. You know, on a bad day, I don't know about you guys, but you know, I go to the worst place in the world. I go to the place like, oh my God, I can't see these people. I'm in the food court. Everyone's making fun of me. I'm the most horrible person in the world. Why don't you know? And then I ask myself, like, why would I think those things? Is anybody really thinking that about me? Or is that my projection that I have a shame about this, right? Yeah. But so on a bad day, what happens on a bad day? If you're willing to share, you don't have to.
You just decide that whatever frustration you feel you're going to take out when you go home, and either run or cat or I don't know cat. So whatever frustration you feel, you say, I feel frustrated now, but I'm gonna put that off and run it out of my system later or whatever.
That's a good day for me.
Yeah.
A bad day for me is, especially if it's interacting with people who are being insensitive or obtuse or insulting. On a bad day, I will return it right back to them.
Yeah.
And you know, not feel right about it, but I think the older I get, the more I am of it. When I was a kid in school, if somebody in the line behind me said something about my eyes, they were going down.
Yeah.
That's all there was to it.
See, I take myself down. I don't take the other person down. I would like take myself down, and it's taken quite a long time to find the right, approach.
For me, on a bad day, I don't let myself be sad about it. I'll let myself grieve. I'll let myself mourn a bit that I have this. I wish I didn't. I mean, the reality is I wish I did not have nystagmus. But I do, and I'll grieve for it. It passes, but there's some benefit in allowing myself to acknowledge that.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the takeaway from me on that one is you're saying it passes. Okay. I was like 40 before I realized it would pass. Like, I literally thought, like, oh my God, this is it. The second I feel horrible is the definition of my life. And I think the thing I've gotten out of this is seeing all the other people, like, who'll tell me they get frustrated too, and it passes. I mean, that's like a huge takeaway. It's like, P.S. I actually will feel better in about 15 minutes. So, anybody else on a bad day? Yeah.
I was just thinking, what I've learned from counseling sessions, actually, just don't set too high expectations, and just don't over catastrophize things.
Yeah.
Tell yourself it's not really as bad as I think, and then just take one thing at a time so that you don't get as frustrated. Don't say I have to do all 5 things in one day. So if you can't do 5, you can do 2.
Yeah, the miracle of low expectations, I call it. Right? Right. Yeah. And we're near on time, but thank you for participating with me, and thank you for sharing your tricks and your tips. I know there's a lot more of these discussions to be had over dinner. I just very strongly feel it's important not only to talk about the tips and tricks, but also to really, shine a light into the dark cave of the fact that we all have different emotional ways of handling it too, that there are good days and bad days. And this is a place where you can come and you can also talk about those things, learn from other people, and, leave saying, what would this other person do, or at least, well, classic me, or whatever. So thank you very much for being with me today.